Started first grade.
And what school did you first attend?
The original old Monroe Elementary School. There were two buildings located along 29, and the first and second grade were in a separate building, and then the two-story building was not too far away from it. It was large. It was awesome. I was afraid. Lived a sheltered life, and there were all these kids milling around, and big kids too.
Who attended school at Monroe School then? Where did the kids come from?
All I could remember that most of the kids were children of railroad people. There were some residents in Monroe that had jobs in Lynchburg. So the majority of the children were the children of the railroad employees.
And what were the children's ages at Monroe School?
I would say 6 through probably 13, 14, although sometimes the kids were older.
At the first Monroe School, you were in the one that was on the east side of the road, and then you moved to the brick one.
That's right.
During your childhood.
1 year in the first Monroe School with the two buildings, and then and we just thought that was the most wonderful thing because we had indoor plumbing, and we didn't have it at home. We didn't have indoor plumbing at home, but this new school did, and that was a big thing because it was a long hike from that first grade classroom down the hill to the outdoor John.
And in 1949, we moved to Winesap Road, and that's when I went to Monroe School for 1 year.
What grade were you in when you came to Monroe School?
I was in the 7th grade.
And you just spent 1 year at that school?
Yes, I had been going to school in Alexandria.
Well, it's still there, and it looks very much like it did, except for a few alterations. It was a big brick building with 2 stories. It had the 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade on the main floor. 4th, 5th, 6th were upstairs, and 7th was back downstairs because the principal also taught 7th grade. The restrooms were at the end, and we had a nice auditorium with a slanted floor and a stage, and an old lunchroom in the basement. We didn't even call it cafeteria.
My mother helped them get a cafeteria started in the school the year that I was there. There was no cafeteria at all, and she helped them get it organized and get it operating.
Well, there was no kindergarten, so I expect we were all 6 years old in the 1st grade, and probably 12, would that be right, when I finished 7th grade? Or 13, I guess. Yeah, because I guess I went into 8th grade, and we were the first class to get that wonderful 8th grade, too.
Because I lived less than a mile from the school, I was not eligible to ride the bus. So Mama took me and brought me most every day.
Do you remember the bus driver?
His name was Mr. Fuller the first year. It was a 49 Chevrolet, bus number 12.
We had to read aloud. We were quiet, and many times we had to stand when we read. That was automatically understood that you stood when you read.
Did you have reading groups?
I'm sure. You always have bluebirds and redbirds, yellow birds. You don't fool the children.
Every day after lunch, she read to us. And she read, these were books with chapters. And so we would finish, you were anxious to finish lunch, really, because then you kind of settle back. And we did Billy and the Major, and I never will forget Lazy Liza Lizard.
We had a whole textbook, A History of Virginia, that was ingrained in children's minds to know the history of their state.
And what about geography?
Yes, we had a lot of geography.
And I remember some of the books that we had, and it seems like we had them in every class, were these little history books. They either had a blue cover or they had an orange cover. You remember those books? They were all, and they were about presidents, but it was a very idealized situation. You know, the slaves were all having a good time, and the master was always good, and but I loved them. I mean, it was just a beautiful picture of how life was with George Washington. No problems.
At the beginning of school, Miss Christine started a review in English of all the parts of speech. And I had never had those taught to me. I didn't know a noun from an adjective to an adverb, and I had to very quickly, in 6 weeks, learn all the parts of speech that I had not been taught in the school in Alexandria.
Did you work at the blackboard?
Oh, yes.
Now, what did you do at the blackboard? What subjects?
Well, I remember math. And in the upper grades, when we started parts of speech and that sort of thing, we worked at the blackboard. We did sing in assemblies, and there was a lady who lived in Madison Heights who came to our school, and she would teach private piano lessons in that auditorium where it wouldn't disturb anybody. If, you know, parents would pay for that.